We're learning a talk the Rebbe gave. Actually, the last talk we have from the Rebbe on Pesach Sheini, which is in the year 1991, 5751. Tafshin Nun. Okay, so the Sicha said, hey Barbara, the Sicha was said, 2nd of Monday, Parshas Emor, Tesvav Iyar, going into Tesvav on the 15th of Iyar. The year after Mincha on the year Tafshin Aleph. So the Rebbe says as follows: in Yanish HaChodesh Iyar, one of the ideas of Iyar is, hold on, let's let the others in. The idea of Chodesh Iyar is, hey Ariel, Shishleimusai b'yom chamishi asar shabai. And what is the completion? Every month there's the Kairasira Bashlemusa. When is the moon at its fullest? Is the 15th of the month. Kairasira Bashlemusa. When is the moon? The Siherah is the moon in its completion. From the Ashlemusa means from the word Shlemus, completion, is on the 15th. Mudgish b'shmoya ikri b'lashon kodesh chodesh ziv. So if you want to know what is the message of the month of Iyar, one of the names that it has is Ziv, of shine. Ziv is a shine, which is in or here, Aaron. The idea of light. But what is the idea of that? The month of Iyar, that we're now kind of getting to the midpoint, which means the high point of the month, because the 15th is the high point, is the concept of light. So what does this mean? Every day of the month of Iyar, means every day is connected to the concept of the shine. Ziv is like a ray or a shine, light. On the first day of Iyar, this is the first month of the month of Ziv. Again, the other name that the month of Iyar has is the month of the shine. The second day of the month is the second day of the month that has a shine and a light. Not only that, it's not just that this is another day, and every day is another day of the month that's also called the month of Ziv, the month of light and shine. But the rest is more than that. Whatever you're doing in these days, or whatever's happening in this month, whether we're talking about holy things, or your mundane things, right? Everyone has the Shabbos within us, the Shabbos within our days, the Shabbos within our week, the Shabbos within our mindset, and we have the Chol, the weekday, the mundane. So also that they have a different, we have different, each month it has its name. Whatever's happening in your life, in the month of Iyar, which is the month of Ziv, of shine, whether it's in holiness or mundane, is something that's happening in a month that's connected to shine. It means there's shine in whatever's happening. Even if it's your regular mundane routine that you're doing every month. But when you're doing it in the month of Iyar, and the month of Iyar is known as the month of Ziv, of shine, means that your routine now has a shine. Whether your routine is in holiness or your routine is in mundane. Which means to say that everything that has to do with the Jewish person, specifically the main purpose of our creation, which is I was created to serve my master, my creator. Everything is with shine. Means my routine, my day-to-day schedule, my main purpose in this world, right? So that's included of every day of the year. When I'm doing all that in the month of Iyar, it all has to have and does have an extra shine. Now, not just any kind of light. There's the shine of the light of the Ziv, but also of the heavens, which is the highest level, harikia, the shine, the light that's in the heavens. Okay, so more of a Kabbalistic Hasidic concept. The Rebbe says more than that. this month, which is the month of Iyar, the month of the shine, is an appropriate month or an auspicious month, for the prophecy. That there's going to be, for those who contemplate, there's going to be a shine like the shine of the moon, of the sky. Parsha in the most literal sense of the verse, which is talking about when is this time of the Zohar Rakia, of the shine of the heavens, is in the times of the Geulah Mitzvah, in the times of the true complete redemption. With the righteous Mashiach, then it's going to be the great shine of the heavens, the Ziv b'chol hazman and b'chol mekaymis. It's not just going to be specifically for the month of Iyar, but it's going to be in all times and all places, because the whole world is going to be elevated to higher reality of light. And the time when Mashiach comes, hopefully speeding our time, we still have a few hours. If it's that in the next few hours, we could still possibly, according to the opinions that we would have to, sacrifice the Paschal lamb. We'll have the building of the holy third temple. That when did they start building this, the temple was on the Chodesh Haziv, the month of the shine. So it's not yet. There's a historical basis for the temple connected to the building of the temple in the month of Iyar, because in the beginning of the month of Iyar is when they completed the building of the temple of Shlomo. Verse 8, it says in the books of Kings. So now we're in the month of shine. And the Rebbe, we already established that this means to bring shine and light into everything about our life, our routine, our spiritual routine, our mundane routine, our main purpose in this world, which is the underlying focus of Anin of Reis to the Shamash Eskani I've created to serve my master. This whole month, everything that's happening, included with the most auspicious shine, which is the shine of the redemption connected to the shine of the temple, it's all within this month. The Rebbe says, in the month itself, the month that represents the shine of light. Okay, so the Rebbe actually seems to have said the Sicha, although it's on the topic of Pesach Sheini, which is the 14th of the month. The Rebbe actually said the Sicha on the 15th of the month. We know in general, the 15th of the month is an auspicious day, because really Pesach Sheini is, we sacrifice the Passover lamb on the 14th, but we would be eating the lamb into the 15th, right? So there's a greater emphasis of the whole message of the month of Iyar, the month of Ziv, of shine, on the 15th of the month. The Chodesh Ziv Shabai Kaimer Sir Baashlemusa Hanishaziv Inyana Shalachaydesh Shu B'Tachsa Shlemus. Because on the 15th of the month is Kair Sir Baashlemusa. This moon is at its completest, and the month is based around the moon. So as the moon shines each day, and on the 15th is at its fullest, means it's the fullest message of the month, which is the message of the shine of the month of Iyar. Okay, you have to remember this is an unedited Sicha, meaning to say that maybe its layout is a little more challenging to put together. Where the Rebbe spoke publicly in 1991 in the shul after Mincha. Excuse me. V'yesh lahosef. Sheini zamud yishgam mitzad hashaychus liyem hasamoch yem yudal b'chodesh ziv sheshlemusa b'yem tezvah Pesach Sheini. We can understand this better, and it's emphasized more when we connect the 14th going to the 15th, and the 14th is Pesach Sheini. Again, the Paschal lamb is slaughtered on the 14th, but it would be eaten towards the evening on the 15th. So what's the connection to this whole idea of the month of shine and its completion, its fullest, when the full moon is out, which is on the 15th, and bringing shine to the month, to every day, to our lives, to Geulah? The Rebbe says, you do a piskim, it's known, this statement, and this is the Hayom Yom of today, of Kvoik Dush Maracham Yadma, the famous saying of my father-in-law, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Al Derech Halimud Vayram Pesach Sheini. What is the lesson, a message from the second Passover? She'ein davar ovid. Nothing is lost. That's the message of Pesach Sheini. The famous Yiddish statement of the Friedrich Rebbe, Nishtokin farfallen. It's never lost. It's never too late. El Yecholim Tamid L'Sakin. No matter what is going on in our lives, whether it's by choice or not, we can always fix it. As we know that the whole coming about of the holiday of Pesach Sheini was Negr'a. Why should we be left out? Why can't we participate? And it's a completion of the first one. Means really they should have done the first Pesach. And when do you do the second Pesach? When you can't do the first Pesach for whatever reason, even if it's lachem, even if it's by choice. And what is the message of Pesach? That Pesach Sheini is the completion of the first Pesach, and it's never too late to fix the fact that you weren't involved or celebrating the redemption the first time. Is the holiday of redemption. Pesach is connected not just to any redemption, it's connected to the redemption of Mashiach. Why? As the prophet says, just as in the days of Egypt you left Egypt, so too in the days of Mashiach I will show you wonders. So we see clearly that the connection between Pesach and Geulah Amitis and Mashiach. That Pesach is the first redemption, and as it was in the times of Pesach, it's going to be in the times of Mashiach in a wondrous way. Like the Rebbe always say, it's wondrous even compared to the days of Egypt. Movements understood. Sheikra Tikun Vashlem is the Pesach Rishon. The Pesach Sheini Uben Nigel Geulah Mitzvah Vashlem. The Rebbe says in a wild concept. That what are we fixing? Right? This is the holiday that teaches us we have to fix things, and it's never too late to fix. But what is the subject that we're fixing primarily? We're fixing the subject of Mashiach. The fact that we didn't celebrate Geulah properly, or Geulah didn't happen properly in the first Pesach. So if it didn't, it's not too late. It's still tonight's Pesach. The 14th, we're going into is the Pesach Sheini to fix the fact that there was something wrong in the first Pesach. It says, sorry, we said that. Is a Pesach who get a Geulah Mitzvah Shlema. Was that movie? So this is understood. So now we know why Pesach Sheini is right next to the 15th of the month that's called the month of the shine, which is light revelation. Because the redemption that was supposed to be in the first Pesach, right? This year everyone was bubbling and excited about Pesach and all the messages and the timings and the calculations, etc. So the Geulah that was supposed to be in the first Pesach, Baal B'Parel comes in actual. It's a revelation of what should have been. So the Rebbe is saying an amazing concept here. What's the idea of awe? For a light. What does a light do? A light gives visual. You see what you couldn't see before because of the light. So what didn't we see before? That the month is the month of light. And when it's a light in the message, the primary message is that and the 15th, which is, so to say, the Iyar message, because the 15th is the most light, is the fullest day of every month, and that's why most of our holidays are on the 15th, is right next to the message of Pesach Sheini, which shows us that the idea of the light is in the idea of Nishtakin for fall. It's never too late. What are we fixing? We're fixing Geulah. Because the month of Iyar brings revelation to the Geulah that we didn't 100% see the first time. That's what the Rebbe is saying here. Why is there a shine here? Connected to Pesach Sheini, to the Pesach, which gives us opportunity to fix what wasn't complete. Is to give light. The redemption that we were all hoping for and counting on, that it would happen in the first Pesach. When is it going to actualize? That we're going to see it. Pesach Sheini is in the month second Pesach. The Rebbe says deeper. The idea of the light is not just that we're going to see what we didn't see before in the message of Pesach, which means redemption, and the fixing in the concept of the fact that we didn't feel the full redemption. Whether we're talking to people as an individual, whether you have to find your own redemption, or we're talking about collectively for the Jewish people and for the world. So it's not just the idea, and what is, it's not just that there's going to be redemption. Sometimes you see what's going, that, okay, when redemption's happening, but what's redemption? So the light is not just going to be a light that there's redemption. The light is going to shine also what is redemption. Because true visual is to really understand something. Gam Nigera is also these guys to reveal to us. In Yana Amiti, what is the true thing? Shahagolus Audeh Geulah. That what does it mean? Sorry, Elorak Nigera is Kal Shal Geulah. Gam Nigera is Kal in Yana Amiti Shal Hagolus Audeh Geulah. What are we getting redeemed from? What was the exile about that we're getting redeemed from? Not just that we were in exile, now that's fixed. And it's going to also show us, because shine shows us, we're going to realize, and it's going to be clear to us, that the only way we were able to get to true redemption is through the Geulah, through the exile. Means what's going to shine over here is going to be literally like opening a light in a dark room. You see everything. Included is the obstacles, right? When you open up a light, if you're walking in a room that's dark, you walk into things, you bump, you trip, you don't understand what's going on, you keep hurting yourself. And when you open the light, you see, whoa, there's a coffee table. Of course, if I walk into the coffee table, I'm going to bump myself. But you see everything. The idea of the light is to see everything, is to give clarity in the whole story. Not just that we left the dark room, but what was the dark room? What was the dark space of Geulah? We understand the Geulah that the Geulah is from. So which gives us a deeper meaning of Geulah and a deeper meaning of Geulah, of redemption. So that says, to understand this, we have to first properly analyze what is the second Passover. Pesach Sheini, the commandment of the second Passover. That's not just that there's a second Passover. The whole point of the second Passover is that we're fixing what we didn't do in the first Passover. It came from a reason, like I said before. The Torah waited for the people to ask, why am I being left out? Because I'm impure, that I can't sacrifice the sacrifice for God. The people came, this is a story, we're going to learn it in a few weeks. There came the second year Passover, and there were those who were tam nefesh adam. They were impure. And they came to Moshe and Aaron and said, Nigrah, why are we being left out? Why can't we participate in the second sacrifice in the Passover, in the second celebration of Passover? Means they didn't come and ask Moshe what's going on. They knew that they weren't allowed to. They knew the laws. The law says if you're impure, you can't sacrifice it. So they knew the reason why they couldn't. They explained why they couldn't. It wasn't like they came to the temple, to this tabernacle with a sheep and a goat, and someone said you can't go in. They knew they couldn't go in. They knew this was why. They came to Moshe and said we can't do it because we're impure. Halachically, we're not allowed to sacrifice. We're tamei. We're impure. So they weren't asking what was the technical reason they can't. They were asking what's going on. So I know we're tamei, but why are we being left out? Nevertheless, they said, they didn't ask they came in demanding. Means with strength. I get it. I know the law, and I know my circumstances, that according to the law, I shouldn't be let in. But still, why am I being left out? How is it possible? Whatever your reason is, that I can't sacrifice. I know the law, and I know my circumstances. But the fact is, I'm not able to participate in the Paschal Lamb. Time is the Rebbe says this claim that the people came. Why are we being let out and not able to be included in the ability to sacrifice the sacrifice for God? When is this claim? This is not just a one-time story that in the desert by Moshe and Aaron, a few individuals came to Moshe and Aaron and said that we're impure. Why are we being left out? This question echoes through history, through time. The question that we ask, why are we being left out? And specifically now in the days of exile. When the Jewish people are in the times of exile, it's in all sense, in all ways of how you view it, and in the actual way also, is we're impure. We're in the status of Tmeim Nefesh Adam. Notwithstanding the fact that the Torah testifies about the Jewish people, Atim, you, the Jewish people, Dveikim Hashem, you cleaving to God, your Hashem, your Lord, Chayim kulchem hayam, that's the living God that gives you life all the time. And we're constantly connected to our living God. But that doesn't change the fact. Not just any kind of life, the godly life, which is an everlasting life. Live half-sick time without any separation. It doesn't change the fact we're still tamei. We're impure, just literally in the halachic sense. We don't have the waters of the paraduma, of the red heifer. Anyone who's ever been in a cemetery, or anyone who's lived outside of Eretz Yisrael, right? The whole Eretz Yisrael, the Avir Eretz Yisrael is tamei. Person just going to Eretz Yisrael, you're tamei. And what made us tamei? Anytime if you went to Levaya, God forbid, you went to a funeral of your parents. That's what you're supposed to do. This week's Parsha, even a Kohen has to do it. So the people that lived before us who passed away, and we went to visit them in the cemetery, made us tamei. But that's just the facts. Yes, no, that's just how it is. And that's the physical sense. So too spiritually. The Rebbe says, the Gemara, like we learned in Sanhedrin, announced all the deadlines, all the end days, Kates, last days of Mashiach to come, have passed. We've passed all the dates. We're still in exile. Just like you become impure by being in contact with someone from before you, if you go to the cemetery to visit a family, a friend, what have you, that person makes you impure. That's just the law. So too, the very fact that we're still in exile is also because the generations before us, because we passed the deadlines many years before, and we haven't fixed ourselves enough to merit the coming of Mashiach. So we're not here to point fingers or blame. Just the fact is, Mashiach should have come many years ago. Why we had Mashiach not come? Because the people didn't do tshuva yet. Who are that? The people who lived before us, including us. The Rebbe says, if you want to talk about who's involved or included in the responsibility for the fact that we're in Gullus, from when the Jewish people lived in times of the first temple, which is why there was the destruction in the first place. And open up the books of Kings and the prophets, and you'll have details of why. The generation specifically of what brought on to the destruction of the second temple. So this is what every Jew screams, like they screamed, like they were demanding in the desert. I get it, we're tamei. I get it, we're still in Gullus. There's no temple standing, and I know why. The fact is, whether we're responsible, others are responsible. No one has changed their act, but still, we're asking Hashem, why are we being left out? Why are we not given the ability to sacrifice the sacrifice? How are you talking? How is it possible? What are we still doing in exile? Why are we still in a situation where there's no temple standing? The temple is still destroyed. And we still can't sacrifice the sacrifices for the temple, including the sacrifice of Pesach. The Rebbe says the demand that we have every year to Hashem of Lama Nigara, why are we being left out? Why this year didn't we do the sacrifice the way we should be? In the temple, on Temple Mount. And the Rebbe says the question comes stronger. Hatayna Lama Nigara, this claim that the Jewish people had and have throughout history, of why are we being left out? Shaydasa Meduber B'Kosef, that the Pasuk tells us the story. Haisa Aleph Time Shakam Nashimvat. The Rebbe said at the time of Pesach Sheini, of the first year in the desert, it wasn't like, and we know the halacha, there's a machlekes. If there's a rabbim, if there's a miyat, what are the conditions for Pesach Sheini? But the definite story was that it was individuals. That the only few individuals, 90% or 99% of the population in the desert were okay. They were able and ready to sacrifice the first sacrifice. Came a few individuals, a small few. Only a few people. And they didn't come to ask about every sacrifice. They were coming specifically to ask about the Paschal sacrifice. 3, the carbon she'eni b'shleimus the shara karbonis mitzad shaychus lePesach Mitzrayim shneisu v'kach shayef ne'eman teiruf ne'adiber le'ikrivu v'le'izu es dam ha'gav mizbeach makom ha'miuchad. See, number 3 is what we're talking about, because this is the second year. The temple is already the tabernacle is already standing. Begin. Well, the third point is the carbon she'enu b'shleimus. That's just the carbon wasn't a complete carbon. The shara kabanis mitzah shayichuse the Pesach Mitzrayim, because it wasn't as complete as the other sacrifices, because it's connected to the Passover that was done in Egypt the year before. The first year they did it was before there was a proper commandment, before the Torah was given. Okay, the Rebbe is saying is that they were coming to complain about a sacrifice that's original sacrifice was done in a way that A was before Matan Torah and also wasn't done properly. There was no temple, there was no altar. They didn't spray the blood according to the way the law is. You have to spray the blood and sprinkle the blood on the altar. They didn't have the actual temple in the first Passover. Instead, they put the blood on their doorposts, like we all know. They put the blood on the doorposts. That was only like putting the blood on the altar, but it wasn't the altar. They put it on their own houses, not in the temple. They weren't even in Eretz Yisrael or in the desert. They were in Egypt. So the Rebbe is saying is that in the second year, when they were saying Lama Nigara, they were being left out from a carbon that originally started from not the height carbon like the carbon Talmud or the other sacrifices that they sacrificed in the temple, of a sacrifice that was sacrificed in Egypt, not done in its full form because there was limitations. But now, that was then. But now that we're coming to Hashem, all of us, and we're saying, what's going on? Why are we being left out? In general, in the time of exile, is Aleph b'negel chol b'nei Yisrael. It's not just for some individuals. It's not just for only a few people to say, Lama Nigara, are being left out. Every Jew, every single Jew in the world should be asking and demanding from God, why am I being left out? So we're not just talking about a few people. We're talking about all the Jewish people. So we don't just want to do the sacrifice of Pesach. We want to do every sacrifice. We want to do it in the complete form. To do it on the altar. Based on English, Eretz Yisrael, not in Egypt or in Seattle or New York. To do it on the altar in Eretz Yisrael, in the holy, in the temple in Jerusalem. And what are we asking? How is it possible? It's already been 1900 years, more than 1900 years. How is it possible that for 1900 years plus, now it's been another, since the Rebbe said this talk, another 30 odd years, 35 years. How is it possible that we're still day in, day out not able to sacrifice the sacrifices in the Beis HaMikdash and Temple Mount? The Rebbe says even more than that. In the time when they left Egypt initially, there were many of the Jewish people, we know it's brought down in the Medrash, it's brought down, Rashi alludes to it also in Parsha B'Shalach, that there was many Jews that didn't want to leave. They said, no, thank you to Moshe. We're staying in Egypt. It is what it is. Even those who left, Paro had to kick out. He needed a hard hand to send them out and to garish, means to exile them. Even against the will of the Jewish people. Only then we came free. We didn't even understand what it meant to be free. We were so traumatized by exile that we didn't even those who left didn't even have the mindset of what it meant to be free. We had to be kicked out. That's why it was Mashiach's come. Again, the Rebbe doesn't quote it here, but there's also the concept it's brought down that only 1/5 went out. Mashiach came Geulah Asida when Mashiach comes. The redemption that's coming any second now. It's not going to be there in a way that we're going to have to kick the Jewish people out of exile. The Rebbe says, what do you mean? The Jewish people are ready. The Jewish people are demanding, why are we being left out? Of course we're going to want to leave Gullahs. The mindset is different. The Rebbe is talking positive on Bnei Israel. The Rebbe says the Rebbe can't imagine that there's any Jew in the world today that doesn't want to go out of Geulah, doesn't want to leave exile. Every Jew today is saying, why am I being left out? So what is the answer? Right? The Jewish people came and demanded from God then. What's the answer today? So when the Jewish people say, and what is the essential claim here? The claim is, what are we still doing in exile? It's 1900 plus years. So the answer is, of why can't we sacrifice? Even the Akravis come Pesach, Pam Achas, Echad Min Yisrael. Omer Satar Shein Zedavar Ovid, Kivan Shmetakli Mashlim Machasar. So just like then, for one sacrifice, that the Jewish people said we want to also be included. God said it's never late. Pesach Sheini says, time out. Relax. Don't worry, you weren't left out. You could still fix it. When Negr'a Chasar, it's called Kabbanis Meshach, the Rebbe is saying here a very deep message, a very powerful message. What is the message of Pesach Sheini? The message of Pesach Sheini is that when the person comes to Moshe, the person comes to Aaron and says, "Lamini God, why I'm being left out?" The answer is you're not being left out. You have a second chance. You could do it on the Pesach Sheini. So when the Jewish people are demanding, why are we being left out? Why can't we 2,000 years sacrifice? The sacrifices, the answer is Pesach Sheini, it's not lost. Don't look at it. Like for 2,000 years, we've wasted time. That's what the Rebbe means, that the Geulah Pesach Sheini gives a shine, not just on the Geulah, but on the Gullus. Because the question of the Gullus is what's going on. And when you have a light and you know what's going on, so then it's not a question what's going on. The Rebbe explains. Hopefully we can get to the answer. First of all, the Rebbe says the idea is like this. We know that as far as the technical goes of the sacrifices, when we say when we read about the sacrifices, every morning we open up our siddur and we talk about Tzavos B'nai Yisrael, the Amor of B'nai Yisrael. We say the parts of the Torah that deals with the Tamid sacrifice, the daily sacrifices. So it's brought down in the Shalma Parim Sefirah. Then how do we have a shleimus? How do we complete the fact that we're not actually standing now in the temple sacrificing? Now would be the time we're doing the Tamid Shabbat, the morning sacrifice. Is by davening, we say it in the tefillah before the davening. The tefillah, the davening is the completion of the korban. So nevertheless, the Rebbe says, although we have the ability to, by saying the korban, to as if it's being done, but it's not being done. You know, there's an idea of as if, but there's as if, and then there is. So it's as if you did it, but you didn't do it. How do we know you didn't do it? Because if I walk 10 minutes from where I'm standing right now, I'll look at Temple Mount and I'll see the temple's not standing there. And the high priest is not sacrificing the morning sacrifice. An actual live animal. Mincha min etzemeach, or actual, the mincha sacrifice, which was the cakes that was from the grains, from the vegetation. Umelach, and the salt that was needed. Akol karbonecha tak melech, like we learned in Vayikra, we have to spray salt on all the happenings of the Mikdash, even on the ramp they had to put salt. That was for another reason they shouldn't slip. Minadayim, that comes from the lifeless, that's the salt. And altogether we have the mincha, the animal, and the salt, which represents domam tmeachai, the lifeless, the vegetations, and the life. Idei Adam, who's doing with the person, so that's the fourth component. Hamakiv Adam ki Yaakov mekem korban Hashem. The person does the korban, the Kohen on behalf of Klal Yisrael and the Jewish people in the world. That's an actual korban. Wizah movement shemayim ramiti the time lam nigara who idei zeh shemetaknim u'meshalm is calling yanim that kravis akarbonis begash miskipshutim shahay chaser meshach karv l'apayim shnas agos. The Rebbe says, therefore, to actually fix the fact that we actually did not do the sacrifice for the past close to 2,000 years is going to be something we have to fix within the actual, not just within an idea like saying that we're going to say another time, open the Torah and say another time the verses that connected to the sacrifices. Shekimun shezeh shekol zeh yutukim v'yishlam beis hamikdash shlishi, and the completion of it's going to be with the building of the third temple. Migdash ad mekani decha, Migdash, the temple that's going to be built by the hands of Hashem. Shebani umushkoilal yigal v'yavi minishman, that's already and built, just needs to lower itself from heaven. And in this will be included, the first and second temples will be included within the third temple. We're not going to get into what that means. 31 is brought down from the Zohar, that the third temple is not just the third temple like a third separate from 1 and 2, but it's a third temple that includes the first and the second temple. So the Rebbe says, so far we don't have an answer. The Rebbe is saying is basically, so I'm going to see this again, that in order to properly fix the fact that we're not sacrificing, it's not enough to fix it in another way, which is what we have up until now, which is the idea of talking about it and reading and praying the verses of the Torah that deals with the sacrifice. It has to be with something of action. The Rebbe doesn't say yet what that is. Let's add. It's the very fact that we're still in exile. And the fact is, we can't do the sacrifices. Like the people standing in front of Moshe and Aaron by the first time they asked for Pesach Sheini in the second year, and they said we can't do the sacrifice. Oh, so the Rebbe says like this: the very fact, the very fact that we're now in exile and we can't sacrifice the sacrifices, that itself, that itself is the highest level of sacrifice. The Rebbe explains. What does it mean to give a korban, to give a sacrifice? It means to give your soul. What's korban mean? Korban means be close. You're sacrificing, you're bringing, the root word in a korban is to be kiruv, to be close. Korban means, how do you become close to God? And what is being brought close to God? You have to give everything. Mesirus nefesh means I'm giving my soul to God. If the person says, no, I'm giving my hand close to God. Total closeness means everything. Inyan is mesirus nefesh, I'm giving my soul. And there wasn't let's just continue. There's not a greater mesirus nefesh than, I think the Rebbe is saying, the idea that a Jew thinks that God is leaving him in exile, or allows for God to leave him in exile. Why? Because what do you mean mesirus nefesh? What's mesirus nefesh? Mesirus nefesh is you're giving away something that you want. Nefesh is ratzin, is you want. Mesirus nefesh is give me what you want for what I want. So the fact that a Jew says to God, if there's a reason that I have to be in exile, let it be. Even though I don't want to be here. I want to be standing by Temple Mount. I want to be standing by the temple. That itself is mesirus nefesh. I'm giving away what I want. I want to be close to you. For whatever reason, I'm not close to you. You decided not. So I'm giving away what I want for what you want. You know, how you really levav is close to the shlachos. Kedei l'mnei shebnei yichidi shemelach malachim hakadosh baruch hu ba'atzmei kolach l'hem tzor yibegalos. The Rebbe says, this is a wild talk. The Rebbe says a Jew would be able to shake up the whole system of creation. Right? When a person has a system, a person has a plan. The child says, I'm your only son. I don't care about your plan. You have a plan? Part of that plan is I've been cast away from the palace. I'm your only son. Bring me home. Forget the plan. So a Jewish person could tell that to God. You have a plan in Seder Shtalshus. You have a plan in the whole system of creation that for whatever reason we have to be in exile for 2,000 years. Forget about the plan. Bring us home. So the Rebbe says, a Jew could throw up, could confuse the whole system of creation to limnaya, to stop. That the Jews should not be in exile. How are you talking? How's it possible? A Jew could say to God, "What's going? I don't know what you're doing. What's going on over here? How's it possible?" I call foul. How are you leaving me in exile? I don't allow for this. We're talking about a galus of 2,000 years. Galus kosher was a horrible galus for the Jewish people. Being thrown out of country. You don't have to turn on the news today to see Pasha, shameless anti-Semitism. Who needs this? For what's the purpose of this? With all the difficulties that the Jewish people went through, the Holocaust, who needs this? And the Rebbe says, even though today, standing here now, 1991, 2026, Baruch Hashem, we're not in the situation like we were 100 years ago in concentration camps, or 500 years ago being exiled from Spain. Baruch Hashem, we live in a country that's a kind country, the United States of America that I was talking about. That the United States is doing tremendous things. There's no Israel for the Jewish people. Look at the freedom we have today. We never had that. The Jewish people are able to study Torah, the mitzvahs, to perform mitzvahs. No one's really stopping you. You have relaxation. It's not like it was in the communist Russia. You could have also your finances in a good space. There was never as easy as it was now, Baruch Hashem, in the 2,000 years of exile. And Makamis Torah were able to do Torah in a wealthy way, out of comfort. But it doesn't change the fact. As good as it is now, we're still in exile. It's amazing what the Rebbe is saying. The Rebbe is saying this is the greatest compliment you can say to the Jewish people. The greatest self-sacrifice the Jewish people had for God, to not mix in to what he's doing. Because if we would mix in, we'd be like the child who says, what are you talking about? I don't know what your plan is. You have a plan, but in the meantime, your plan is, there was a comic I once saw as a kid. So the child, Calvin Hobbes, I think, the kid says, I'm cold. The father says, put on a sweater. Because every time he saves money, I'm putting on a sweater. So God has a plan. He has a plan. Who's suffering? I'm suffering from it. I have to put 2,000 years in galus. It's the biggest compliment you can say about the Jewish people. The self-sacrifice. We didn't get involved in we didn't question God's plan. And because of that, we lost. We gave up the ability to be in redemption. Had we said, no, we're not standing for this, we're not subscribing to your idea of galus, whatever the benefit is, we would have benefited personally from that. That would be an our benefit to not be in galus. But we stuck with it. God is going to make up for it. It's the shtakim for found where nothing's really lost. The famous verse that Yeshaya says that Mashiach comes and we're going to say, thank you for being mad at me. We're going to say thank you. It means we're going to appreciate, we're going to see the benefit. We're going to thank God for the exile. What are we saying? You were angry at me. We're saying thank you for being angry at me. That's a half compliment. Because even though you're saying that it's going to be fixed, and we see the bigger plan, but you were mad at me. That wasn't pleasant, that experience. God was angry. I'm going to go a little further. We have to kind of get to the answer here, because we're kind of left in a mid-thought. So let's try to get a little further. Now we understand why the second Pesach, which is the idea of second Pesach, is really to give light and shine to the whole story. Because when you have the first Pesach and it's not complete, and especially you have the moment, right? Everyone felt it this year, especially. Mashiach is coming Pesach. How many people said Mashiach is coming Pesach? And then it didn't happen, right? The fact is we're still sitting here on Pesach Sheini. But the idea of Pesach Sheini is to show to understand the difficulties. The ziv to light, or v'gilui. The real idea is to understand Geulah. And how we're going to properly understand the Geulah is through the redemption. But when we say, when we come to the Hashem and saying, why are we being left out? Don't worry, nothing's lost. We have Pesach Sheini to fix the fact that there wasn't a Pesach Rishon, it wasn't a first Pesach. We get a certain clarity of the exile. One, the Rebbe says, it's a shame we're not, because usually these classes I prepare less, so I should be able to learn it with you to get really an understanding what the Rebbe's final message is here. So what the Rebbe is going with seems like so far is that the very sacrifice that the Jewish people are giving away, the fact that we're not totally flipping the tables. And what would be flipping the tables? What does it mean to throw down the script? And the person says, I'm not doing Torah mitzvahs anymore. God forbid. That's it. If you want to keep me in Geulah, I'm not part of the story. I'm taking off my tefillin, and I'm not part of the story. I'm not going to Shalom Shabbos. We're not continuing to do. 2,000 years we ate gefilte fish, and we ate matzah, and we said the Shana B'Yishalayim. What would be, God forbid, saying no? Would be throwing down the script. Nevertheless, we sat there and we did it. We had Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice to be part of the story. That we're going to know that we're going to be able to fix it even in the most physical sense. We should see in a revealed way. At the end of it all, we have to understand the purpose of all this Geulah, of this exile, is that the true redemption and the highest level of redemption, in order to get there, it's not possible. This is an argument the Rebbe said for years. It's not possible that Geulah is just a punishment. Geulah is not a punishment. Punishments don't last that long. No one's been sentenced to 2,000 years in prison. What is Geulah? Geulah has to be that in order to get to Geulah, in order to get to redemption, there's no other way. There's something so great about the redemption, this is the only path. And therefore the prophet says, we're going to say to God, thank you for being angry at me. Because we're going to say thank you, because we're going to understand what we achieved and we ended up in the Geulah and the redemption. We're going to say thank you for the exile. Only through that will we get to the Geulah mitzvah. We have to stop here. I have to leave. So everyone will hopefully continue studying on your own. Laila Tov, everyone. Good Shabbos and have a happy Pesach Sheini. Take care.
Good Shabbos.